A couple of weeks ago, there was a clip going around on social media from TalkSport where Laura Woods was debating with Jamie O'Hara regarding Arsenal's Premier League season and if finishing fourth would be an overachievement. Now, obviously, Laura, massive Arsenal fan, was stating it would be an overachievement, while Jamie O'Hara, Tottenham fan, was saying it wasn't. And surprising to myself, actually, I found myself agreeing with Jamie O'Hara, and that doesn't happen too often. But I think he's right. I think he's bang on with this, actually. It's not an overachievement. It's a good season. It's a good job from Arteta if they get there, and it's an achievement. They will have done well. But overachievement seems a little bit too strong to describe Arsenal finishing fourth in the Premier League. Now, before we get into it, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. If you're not new to the channel, you're going to think, crikey, it's been a while since you've last done a video. But I'm going to try and do some between now and then the season. I've left it late, really, to get involved this season, haven't I? But it's not going to stop me trying to get involved between now and then the season. I'm going to continue doing videos over the summer and start to take this channel a little bit serious. So if you're new, subscribe. And if you'd like to know when I do a video, click on that bell next to it, get some notifications. Because this week, we've got 5 days. I'm going to do 5 videos going live at 5 PM every single day, starting with this one, Arsenal. And tomorrow, well, I'll tell you towards the end of the video what it's going to be on. But back to the Arsenal thing. I don't think it's an overachievement. I don't see how it can be described of that. And there's a few factors. We'll get into them. But there's definitely a few factors. But part of the reason, and that is if you go back to the start of the season, before a ball was even kicked. And I'm not talking about the transfer window. I'll talk about that in a minute. But not that. If you were to do your season predictions, and I'm obviously talking for myself here, but I think most people would have similar thoughts to myself. And that was the top 3 felt a little bit nailed on. It was going to be between Man City, Liverpool and Chelsea. I thought it would be a 3-way title race. I'm surprised at how poor Chelsea's been. Liverpool and Man City have just been world class again. But they've occupied the top 3 for, it feels like, the entire season. It was nailed on. So the question was, who was going to finish fourth? And Arsenal were in the conversation. They had to be in the conversation. They spent 150 million. They didn't have European football this season. That's a big important factor. You can't just dismiss the fact that Arsenal haven't had European football, because it does take its toll on teams that are involved, especially if they make it to the latter stages of the European tournaments. Now, most of these teams did. In fact, Tottenham were the only team that didn't make it to the latter stages of the European competition. But even they still had European football at the start, giving Arsenal a slight advantage. You've got to take that into consideration. But for me, there was 5 teams in the race to finish fourth before a ball was even kicked. Arsenal and Tottenham, Manchester United obviously, and then West Ham, my team, and Leicester City. Now, I got Leicester City wrong. It's not the end of the world. I thought they had a decent enough season last season, won the FA Cup, signed Patson Daka in the summer. I thought they were looking good to challenge the top 6. I thought they'd be in the conversation. I thought that would be the top 3, and then that would be the next 5. First 8 would be those teams, and it was almost like 2 little mini leagues, if you like. Leicester, nowhere near it. But that's a different team, different conversation. We're talking about Arsenal in this video. So for me, before a ball was even kicked, the league started, Arsenal were a contender for fourth. And this is when you go one step back to the transfer window. You can't spend 150 million and aim for 8th in the Premier League again. You just can't do that. You've got to be looking up the table, trying to get European football. And fourth had to be Arsenal's aim. Now, that's not a bad thing. I'm not trying to sit here and make on that it's a poor season for Arsenal. Quite the opposite. I think it's a good season. To finish fourth is good. West Ham finishing 6th in the Premier League this season would be good. It's no longer an overachievement, though, because we've done it last year. It's no longer overachieving. That is the level that West Ham are at. But for Arsenal, getting fourth, getting back into the Champions League, fantastic. Now kick on. You're giving yourself a platform. They're moving in the right direction. But last summer, they spent big money. Now, what I will say, I think they spent the money well. I think the signings have been good. Ben White, 50 million. I think he's had a good season. I think there was a lot of snobbery towards Ben White when he went for 50 million. A lot of people thought, crikey, it is a lot of money. But it's an English centre-back, a young English centre-back, that's a ball-playing centre-back too, and that's the way that Arteta wants to play. And I'll always argue that if a manager buys the perfect player for their system, that to some extent, there's no such thing as overpaying, because if he fits what you want to do perfectly, then you've got to go get him. If you can afford him, get him. Because when you start moving down your list of potential targets, your ideal player for that position, you start compromising. The guy 5th in the list isn't number 1 for a reason. It might be because he's not, in Ben White's case, perhaps he's not quite as good on the ball, he's not quite quick enough, or something. You then compromise, save a little bit of money, but then you pay for it generally. So mistakes will creep in, it won't be quite working, you'll be thinking, if only I got that player. So Ben White was Arteta's number one centre-back, and we have to believe he was, hence the 50 million. I'm all for it, and it reminds me of Liverpool getting Sadio Mane. Sadio Mane was one of the most important signings Liverpool have made in recent years. The one that sort of helped transform them a little bit. And back then, people thought Liverpool were overpaying with Sadio Mane, and they probably were. But he's the perfect player for Jurgen Klopp's system. Therefore, it wasn't overpaying. That's the price. Now, I think it's the same with Ben White. I think it's an equivalent signing. I know a lot of people say, well, I think Mane is a bit better than Ben White. Different positions and stuff. I get that. But what I'm trying to say is, Arteta's identified what he wants in a centre-back, just like Jurgen Klopp identified what he needed in a left winger. Mane was that, Ben White was that anyway. Now, with Aaron Ramsdale had to eat humble pie when he went for 25 million, I thought, Arsenal have been had here. I didn't really rate him, to be honest with you. But he's had a brilliant season as well. Sort of England's second choice keeper now. Could be first choice keeper by the time the World Cup comes round. But for 25 million, he's looking like a good piece of business by Arsenal. I have been surprised at just how good he's been. Obviously, they've got Odegaard, who was on loan last season. They knew what they were getting. But he's stepped up a level. He has stepped up. He's better this season than he was on loan. Got a bit of competition with Smith Rowe. I mean, to keep Smith Rowe on the bench, you're doing something right anyway. But Odegaard's becoming a bit of a key player for Arteta. The longer the season's gone on, the more and more important he's got for Arsenal. And 30 million or whatever it was paid, more than a fair fee. Now, Tomiyasu is the one that surprised me. Never heard of him, obviously. I'm not even convinced that Arteta had heard of him. But he's come in at right back and he's looked good. I think they've missed him a bit while he's been out injured recently. But 16 million looks like a bargain for him. Lokonga, another player around about the 16 million mark. Hasn't quite worked out for him yet, but he's only 21. There's not that much pressure on him. The pressure was on Thomas Partey to step up. The pressure was on Saka to step up, even though quite young. Disappointing Euros with the missed penalty and whatnot. The pressure was, can you step up? Pressure on Kieran Tierney to step up. Big money paid for him. Had a bit of an injury stop-start to his Arsenal career. But there's none of that on Lokonga. But he's looked alright in spells that I've seen him. Would like to see him a bit more if you're an Arsenal fan, I assume. But he's done okay. Nuno Tavares, the 8 million left back. Sometimes I've watched him, I think he's looked quite promising. Other times I don't think he's looked particularly great. But again, 21, it's not the end of the world. And to have one of the youngest squads in the league, it's very, very promising for Arsenal fans. For the first time in years, they can look forward and they can look up. And I think that's what's different. And Arteta's doing a good job. But he's been there since December 2019. Right? He's not just got in the door or anything like that. He's been there a while. I would expect, after over 2 years now, I'd expect a manager to have moulded it into his squad, his team, playing his way. For sure, the first season or 18 months, you write it off to some extent. Arteta's got to get in there, get used to it. And we've got to remember, it's his first managerial stint on his own, coming out of Pep Guardiola's shadow, trying to make a name for himself, which isn't easy. But he's doing that now. You know, this is Arteta's team. This isn't Pep Guardiola, This is Arteta's way of playing. And they've played some good football. We can't, again, just like I said, you can't dismiss no European football. I don't think you can dismiss the entertainment factor that Arteta's got at the Emirates at the minute. They're a good team to watch. They're a joy to watch. And he's done a good job. And arguably, one of the most impressive things Arteta's done this season is getting rid of Aubameyang. And I'm aware because he's gone to Barcelona, he's doing really well there. It is this almost like, I feel like some pundits are people that just don't like Arsenal for whatever reason. I think Gary Neville's one of them. I don't think Gary Neville likes Arsenal. And, you know, just recently he was saying that this is as far as Arteta can take them. Maybe he should move on to another job. I think that's rubbish. I think it's complete rubbish. I think Gary Neville just doesn't like Arsenal. And that's okay. But I think there's a few other pundits and journalists who don't like Arsenal and they're trying to find something to have a go at them with. I think Aubameyang's that. I think he's becoming the club, which is, well, you essentially booted him out the club and look how good he's doing at Barcelona. But also at the same time, since Aubameyang's gone, look how good Arsenal have done. Arsenal have done well while Aubameyang's there. It's a move that's worked out for everybody. It's just gone a bit stale for him at Arsenal. So Arteta's got rid of this negative presence in the changing room. You know, he was the captain, but he was turning up late, not just on one occasion. And he needed to get him out of the club. He's gone out there. It's worked out for Barcelona. It's worked out for Aubameyang. And I think it's worked out for Arsenal too. And it's strong leadership from Arteta to say to his captain, you're becoming negative. I can't have this. I can't have this ill discipline from anybody, never mind my skipper, out. Which is the opposite of what we saw with Granit Xhaka. Obviously, Arteta has taken him back into the fold and stuff, and it looked like his days were numbered at Arsenal. No longer the skipper, of course, but that shows strong leadership too, to some extent. I think Arteta's judged that situation well, and I think he's judged Aubameyang well, and it's been impressive from him. I think Arteta's doing a really good job at Arsenal. They're slowly building, they've got a young team, the foundations are really strong, and it's a crucial transfer window. Of course it depends, are they going to be in the Champions League or not? And if they are, I don't think it's an overachievement, but still a really, really good season. And at the end of the day, like I said at the start, I've seen them in a bit of a mini league with 5 teams, one being Arsenal. They've won their mini league, if you like, if they finished 4th, which a couple of weeks ago it looked destined, didn't it? Not so much anymore. Tottenham have obviously, they're looking really strong, and we've got that big North London derby coming up as well, which could be crucial as to who finishes 4th. And Arsenal, of course, have got a tough game tonight at Selhurst Park against Crystal Palace. That'd be a good game. I'm looking forward to watching it. But Arsenal, I always say in football, you're either going forwards or backwards, and no such thing as standing still. Arsenal are definitely travelling in the right direction, even if they don't finish 4th. And it will be disappointing if they don't, having looked like favourites for it for so long. It's still a really good season that they can take forward, and this is where the summer is crucial. If Edu can get a couple of big players in, they need a striker. We know that Lacazette's contract's running down. They need a number 9, a big player up there, a world-class player up there. Now, while Gary Neville's does missing Arsenal, not Arteta, but Arsenal, I thought Jamie Carragher's voice of reason on the other side was bang on when he said that this is crucial, where this is where Arsenal need to go out and make a couple of signings, a bit like Van Dijk and Alisson for Liverpool. And I think he's bang on. I think they've got a couple of Mane-style ones, which is the start of the transition to go to a different team, to go to a different way of playing. I think they've done that with the signings that we've mentioned, the likes of Ramsdale, Tomiyasu, Ben White. But now they've got to do the next layer, which is get your world-class players, and one that's going to start every single game. They're almost going to be... You can't drop them because they're so good. They need the striker in there. They're probably looking for a centre midfielder as well. Arsenal fans are watching this, they're thinking you're completely wrong here, mate. I might be, but the way I see it, you need a centre midfielder to play next to Thomas Partey, and you need a number 9. And then there's another couple of positions that could be looked at as well. You could probably do more options at centre back, but all in all, I think that's got to be the focus. I see the likes of Yuda Tielemans linked with Arsenal at the minute for 25 million. If they get Champions League, they've got an edge on Manchester United to go after the likes of Yuda Tielemans. Would be a fantastic signing. But this is a crucial summer. Last summer was crucial for Arsenal, and they got it bang on. They've got it right. And when you get, you get your Odegaard, your Ramsdale, your Ben White, when you get those transfers right, if you have got Lokonga wrong, it's not the end of the world. It's 16 million, which is average for a Premier League club these days. That's punt money now. If you somehow got that wrong, which they haven't got it wrong yet, I think the jury's still out, but if you have got it wrong, not the end of the world. As long as you get 80% of it right, you're doing okay. They've done that. But this summer, there's less room for, there's less margin for error. Last summer they've signed, I don't know, what was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players they signed last summer, 6 senior players. They needed to get 4 right, and they did, and it was the 4 big ones. This summer, though, they might only sign 2 or 3. Less room. They've got to get them right as well, because they're big signings, they're going to cost a lot of money, and they're going to have to get into the starting 11 and possibly have Champions League football next season. Anyway, there you go. There's my ramble about Arsenal for anybody interested. A good season if they finish 4th. A good achievement. A good manager in Arteta, played good football. The future looks good for Arsenal. If you're an Arsenal fan right now, you should be excited, and that's what Arteta's giving you back as a fan base. He's giving you hope, something to look forward to. It just seemed like you've had a few years of misery where everything was a bit messy, there was no direction, there was not much togetherness, whether it was on the playing squad, the coaching staff, the management of the club. It felt like everything was fractioned, and even within those fractions there was more fractions. Doesn't feel like that anymore. It feels like there's a real togetherness at that club. They're all moving in the right direction. They're all on the same wavelength. It's a promising time for Arsenal. They certainly look better at this point in time right now. They look set up to have a better season than Chelsea next season already. Before the summer transfer window, Chelsea have got a couple of big players leaving. Rudiger and Mike Christensen is. We know what's going on with their ownership, or we don't know what's going on with their ownership rather. So Chelsea are a bit rocky going into next year. And that's an opportunity for Arsenal to close the gap between them and Chelsea, because that's what they've got to do ultimately. It's baby steps. Possibly finishing fourth would be a big leap. But now can you close the gap on Chelsea? Can you get Champions League football again next season? If you miss out this year, fine, but you've got to get it next season, because you can't spend 150 million last summer, another 100 million this summer possibly, and not get Champions League football as a reward at Arsenal. It's not good enough for Arsenal. Not good enough. They need Champions League football. So it would be an achievement. Arteta would do well. Overachievement. Going to disagree with Woodsy on this one. Not for me. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, drop a like on it, subscribe if you're new to Tart and Geo, and I'll be back tomorrow at 5 o'clock where I'll be discussing a certain Tottenham player. And it's not Harry Kane, but somebody who's blown me away recently. Since he's joined Spurs recently. Bit of a clue there. I think he's transformed that Tottenham attack. And as a West Ham fan, I don't like it. And as an Arsenal fan, you shouldn't like it either. I'll catch you in a bit.